In an American supermarket, some of the biggest business stories look completely ordinary. A bag of soft, golden Hawaiian rolls sits quietly beside milk, eggs, and breakfast food. Most shoppers simply take a bag home for breakfast, sandwiches, or a family gathering. But behind this humble product is a remarkable story of patience, risk, and persistence. Many successful entrepreneurs did not begin with a complicated invention. They began with something as simple as a sauce, a snack, a cookie, or a small bread roll. The real advantage was making one ordinary product unusually good, reliable, and memorable, then finding a way to place it in more hands. The man at the center of the story was Robert Tara, a Hawaiian-born baker from an Okinawan immigrant family. In 1950, he opened a tiny bakery in Hilo, Hawaii. There was no beautiful storefront, no wealthy investor, and no modern equipment. Much of what he used was old military surplus, but he had skill, curiosity, and a reason to keep going. The bakery was small, worn, and far from perfect. Yet great businesses rarely begin under perfect conditions. They often begin with a practical question, and Robert's question was simple. Could he make bread that people loved on the first day and still enjoyed days later? Sweet bread inspired by Portuguese baking traditions was already popular in Hawaii. Fresh from the oven, it was fragrant, sweet, and wonderfully soft. The problem was that traditional loaves could become hard by the next day. For a bakery hoping to reach customers beyond its own neighborhood, that short shelf life was a serious barrier. Robert did more than repeat the familiar recipe. He experimented with ingredients, tested batch after batch, and compared how each roll changed over time. Eventually, he developed a sweet round roll that remained tender for several days. That small improvement gave the product a chance to travel far beyond one bakery counter. The new rolls quickly became the bakery's signature item. Customers loved them so much that some reportedly finished the bag before reaching home. For a food business, that kind of reaction is more persuasive than any advertisement. People were not being told to love the product. They simply wanted another bite. After more than a decade in Hilo, Robert made a larger move. He relocated the business to Honolulu, a bigger city with more customers and more opportunity. The local bakery was beginning to step onto a much larger stage, but the family still carried the same ovens, recipes, and determination. In Honolulu, the rolls became a popular island specialty. Residents bought them, tourists carried them home, and families mailed them as gifts to friends on the mainland. Word of mouth began moving the bread across the Pacific long before the company had national distribution. The bakery shipped so many boxes that it became one of the local post office's important customers. That image captures a turning point in the story. Demand was no longer limited to the line outside the shop. It was spreading one parcel at a time into distant markets. Success created a difficult choice. Robert and his wife could remain comfortable in a small island market, or they could move closer to the customers who were already asking for the product. To reduce shipping costs and reach the mainland, they risked nearly everything and prepared to build a bakery factory near Los Angeles. The new factory opened in 1977, but the celebration did not last long. The ovens worked, the racks were full, and the rolls were ready, yet almost no mainland retailer knew the company. A factory without customers can be more frightening than having no factory at all. So Robert began doing the least glamorous and most necessary work himself. He carried sample boxes from office to office, called buyers, knocked on doors, and heard no again and again. As an unfamiliar family business entering a crowded market, he could not expect trust to arrive quickly. Food has one advantage. A bite can communicate what a sales pitch cannot. Robert noticed that skeptical buyers and office staff sometimes reached for a second roll after tasting the first. That small gesture gave him hope because it proved the product itself had persuasive power. Still, a good product does not become a national success overnight. For more than 2 years, Robert kept calling, delivering samples, waiting for replies, absorbing rejection, and trying again. This is the part of entrepreneurship that receives little attention. The long period when the investment is real, but the result is not. In 1979, the breakthrough finally arrived. Safeway became the company's first major national customer. For a small producer, this was more than a purchase order. It was an entrance ticket to new cities, new shelves, and millions of new households. Growth created a new challenge. The company had to make more bread without losing the quality that made it special. Production, cooling, packing, and delivery all had to work together. Every bag reaching a distant supermarket still needed to feel as soft and inviting as the rolls from the original bakery. This is why a simple product can become difficult to copy. The true advantage is not only a recipe. It is decades of consistent quality, dependable suppliers, distribution relationships, customer trust, and habits built one purchase at a time. Behind the small roll stood an invisible fortress of business systems. Supermarkets also noticed that the rolls moved quickly from shelf to basket. Customers recognized them, enjoyed them, and returned to buy them again. For a retailer, a product that sells before it becomes waste is not merely taking shelf space. It is making that shelf more valuable. The rolls also fit many different moments in everyday life. They could become breakfast, small sandwiches, sliders beside barbecue, or something easy to share at a holiday table. A product becomes remarkably resilient when customers can imagine using it in more than one way. Over time, the company expanded into sliced bread, sauces, drinks, and other products. Yet the original sweet roll remained at the center of its identity. Expansion worked because it grew around a clear core rather than replacing the thing customers already loved. As the business became more valuable, investors naturally became interested. Selling the company might have looked like the easiest path to a large payday, but the family repeatedly chose to keep it. To them, the bakery was not only an asset, it was a responsibility passed from one generation to the next. Robert eventually passed away, but the company did not lose its direction. His children and later generations continued growing the business across the United States. The hardest test for a family company is not creating first-generation passion. It is teaching the next generation why the same standards still matter. The family remembered a simple principle from Robert. Make a good product, use good ingredients, and never become greedy. That sounds easy until a business becomes large and every shortcut promises faster profit. The real discipline is protecting the reason customers trusted you in the first place. From a tiny Hilo bakery to a nationally recognized food company, this success was not accidental. It was not one viral moment or one brilliant campaign. It was more than 70 years of improving one product, building reliable systems, expanding carefully, and defending quality. The most inspiring lesson is not simply how much money the company eventually made. It is that an important opportunity does not always look enormous at the beginning. A small, specific product that people genuinely enjoy can become life-changing when someone is willing to improve it for years. For an entrepreneur, the message is to stop chasing every trend and first ask whether the product solves a real need. For anyone building a career, the same idea applies to skill. You do not need to master everything. You need one core ability that becomes reliable, useful, and worthy of trust. Time magnifies small things done exceptionally well. So the next time you see an ordinary product on a supermarket shelf, look again. It may represent decades of quiet work that turned something familiar into something difficult to replace. Sometimes the strongest businesses do not discover a world nobody can see. They simply bring uncommon patience to something everyone can see.